what is the best cuisine in the world in terms of...
Swedish. we have pineapple pizza.
No, this we're going to exclude. DayOff was born from the simple idea of a conversation during a day off, with the goal to understand great people, the choices they've made, and most importantly, their mindset, by splitting the person from the personality. We hope to do just that. We just interviewed a 2 Michelin star chef. This was a super episode. I think he shared a lot of things that a chef of his level wouldn't normally share, the success, but also the failure. And it was super interesting to learn about the dynamics within a kitchen, a Michelin star kitchen, that the public doesn't know about, you know? It's fun to look at it from the chef's perspective. A lot of very interesting topics there. And finances of running a Michelin star restaurant, opening a new one, failing, really interesting stuff. I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy this very much. Mikael Svensson, welcome to your day off.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So, chef, I would like to understand a couple of things, but before we get into the many topics I want to discuss with you about, I just want to say this. Just 5 minutes ago, I introduced you to my partner and I said he's Italian, and you said, what was your answer there?
Nobody's perfect. Yeah.
So now I want to understand, right? You, being a chef, working in a kitchen, I'm sure you've been in contact with many Italians.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Can you describe your experience from meeting and working with Italians? Was it pleasant or unpleasant?
Very mixed. I think it's just about personalities, but
that's correct.
It's not for all of them. But one common thing is that this organization of an Italian chef can be very interesting to watch, or a sommelier.
I like to call it. Some people like to call it art, you know, and expression of oneself.
Yeah, that's what one cook we had called it himself. He was creating, he said, when he was making a mess in the whole kitchen and driving everybody nuts.
But don't you find, honestly, because I know you're Swedish, right? And you live in Norway, and we're going to get into all of that. But as a Swedish individual, as a Swedish-born man, you are very methodical and organized.
Not really.
No. Okay.
I like some organized chaos, kind of. I'm not complete Italian with that mess.
And not complete...
I don't have OCD, no.
Okay, I see. No. All right. So what's the best place to be, exactly?
I mean, where you're comfortable. I mean, but
good answer.
In a kitchen, you have a lot of different personalities and a lot of different people. Some with heavy OCD that like the measurement from the board to the side of the bench to the angle of the knife and how do you put your wiping cloth. And
but isn't that what fine dining is, or a part of it?
Well, it depends. It has to be organized and you have to have control. But if you're spending more time of angling your knife when you're putting it down to where the board is, I don't see the point. I put down my knife and I'm eating something very
I had a great time when I came to Contrast, which is the restaurant you own, and you know we have a lot to talk about that. But this is back in the days when I used to be normal. Then I became vegan.
Yeah.
So
you're not welcome anymore.
I'm not welcome anymore.
No, but like we have this discussion a lot privately, or I mock you sometimes for it. But
you do.
I love vegetables myself. I really love eating vegetables and cooking with vegetables. But I also do love meat, fish, shellfish, and everything. And any ism that is to 100%, like people who say I only eat meat, vegetables is for rabbits. I don't. I have so much I don't respect that, and I don't.
And the other way around.
And
as
the
well.
other way around, like vegan is too extreme
No,
for me.
I don't.
And,
I think to say I
that
don't
is
respect it is
not-
maybe too much. It doesn't resonate with me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but and also if we just look
Don't
into,
have the vegans hate you, chef.
No, I'm not. I try not to. And I love to try cooking vegan. I do that at home sometimes, not on purpose, but it just becomes vegan because that's what I want to eat that day. You know.
Chef, you have 2 Michelin stars.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to cook at home. At home, you should only order pizzas and burgers.
Yeah. Well, no, I like to cook.
You cook at home as well?
Yeah.
But that's a compulsive disorder you have of you being in a kitchen all the time.
No, but I enjoy it.
enjoy it, yeah.
I enjoy it. And, like one of the best things to do on a day off, it's in the summer, you just light up your grill and have a barbecue, sitting there watching the.
Put your cauliflowers on.
Yeah, put my cauliflower on, make my cauliflower steak, put my tofu on the side.
Man, I don't know how this is gonna end.
No, but like what I was gonna say is that the reason why we can't cater to vegans at Contrast is because
of seasonality.
not only
ingredients.
not only that, but the menu would be like too separated from what we do normally.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be like it would have no attachment to the normal menu.
Mhm.
That's why we feel it's like too far from what we do. Vegetarian, no problem at all.
Look,
Yeah.
as a vegan, of course, I'm sad I can't come and eat at your restaurant.
Yeah.
But when you give me an answer like that, it's a legit answer because in the end of the day, you want to stay. I understand you as a business owner and as a chef, you
Yeah.
have a vision, right? Vision, it's a very fancy word, but let's read between the lines. And you have a concept, you have a philosophy when it comes to food, right? And you want to be as close to that as possible.
Yeah.
And I think what you just explained now is that the moment you step out of that vision, then you're not contrast anymore. All of a sudden you're something else. And
No, but
did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, but it's also like, to make a silly comparison, you don't go into like a furniture shop that sells tables and chairs and buy a car, because that's
Mhm.
not the experience you get from them. That's not what they do. It's not what they are good at. Sure, they can hook you up with a car from Finn or something, but you as a customer wouldn't be very happy with that either. So,
Well, it's still food we're talking about. I think a better example will be you won't go into a fast food restaurant asking for a fine dining dish.
no, exactly, yeah.
Very good. Chef, look.
Tasting menu at McDonald's.
Tasting menu at McDonald's. No, chef, but can I tell you something? I had a lot of discussions with people, over the years. Then we're going to close this veganism argument. But I had a lot of discussions with people over the years who really, just don't like the idea of eating vegetables and fruits and legumes. But with you, I have to say, every time we catch up, because it all turns into a comedy and a joke. And in the end of the day, instead of leaving the room angry, I leave the room smiling, because I know in the end of the day you respect that as well.
Yeah,
you must raw materials that you use in the kitchen as well.
And like I said, I love cooking vegetables. I love eating them.
And that's why I can't be angry with you.
No.
I just can't. But anyways, let's move on. Every time I spoke about you with people, I just can't find something negative to say about you. And even the people who worked with you, which is very weird. And I had some close friends of mine working with you, for you, and it's crazy the amount of respect these people have. Nobody has anything bad to say about you. How is that possible? Because usually how you picture a successful chef is a chef that it's always in a certain mood. Even TV shows, I think, have done that a little bit. If you look at Gordon Ramsay, that's how you picture a Michelin star or a successful chef, right? You can't talk to them, or you have to talk to them in a certain way. And it's basically like the army. And I wonder, how do you create that sort of relationship with the people who work with you? How do you build that kind of trust exactly?
I mean, it's a long way, and it didn't build itself overnight.
So it wasn't always like this.
No, of course not. I've
Interesting.
been the angry chef as well.
You have.
And I'm sure if you dig deep enough, you will find former employees who don't
Quite
like me.
unhappy.
But in general, it's like I learned some way along those years I've been having my restaurant that it takes so much energy walking around being angry. And it's tiresome being angry. Of course, you sometimes have to be it, but we all make mistakes. And then if a cook makes a mistake, or if a waiter makes a mistake or something, I realize that I have to start with myself to see, have I shown you what I want, or have the management teach you, have I teach you what we expect or how we want it to be? If the answer is no, it can't be 100% your fault, can it? Because we haven't really given you the tools to do your work properly. But if I have, then of course, like, you have to step up, and then also it goes back to the hiring process, that we don't always hire maybe the ones with the best CV. Of course, a good CV opens the door to come in and get an interview or whatever. But in somehow we have a democratic process when we hire someone. We are fortunate enough to have more candidates most of the time for the position we're hiring for, and they have to fit in the team. They don't have to be best friends with everybody who's working there, but their personality have to slide into the environment we are working, because it just takes one bad apple to spoil the basket. So
what are some of the red flags you look at in a potential candidate, or even somebody who's been working at your restaurant for 2 weeks?
It goes a long way if you're a team player or not, and if you help your colleagues in the kitchen. I mean, when I was young, I had a chef who told me that it's always someone who's going to be better at you at something. Like, if you have a really bad cook who's like really bad at roasting meat or cutting vegetables or plating, or there's something that he might be the best at,
Mm.
and then he can learn the other things. So you have to respect that people have different skills and are good at different things, and that they can bring something to the table.
Of course.
Yeah.
I would like to focus on one thing you said, and while I was listening to you, I was like, is he really saying it? That's super interesting. So it's always easy, right, to blame everybody else all the time. It's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But what you just said now is, when you were talking about people not, a cook, for example, a chef not performing as he or she should in a kitchen,
Yeah.
you said, okay, I do question myself as well, right? Because I go there and I ask him or her, okay, have we given you the proper training? Have we done everything we could to make you succeed? And, did we put you in the right place? And so essentially, you do, let me see if I understand this right. You do leave a little bit of space to say, okay, there is a chance I might be wrong as well, or there is a chance I might have made a mistake here as well.
Yep.
Now, I have 2 questions about that. The first one is this a common thing among, the kitchen industry, the kitchen world and the chef's world? And the second thing is, have you ever been wrong in the past? Like really badly with a chef?
If it's common that people acknowledge their mistakes, I'm not sure. It wasn't definitely not when I was coming up as a young cook.
I'm talking about ego here, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit like when the chef is wrong, he's still right,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly my
Yeah.
point. But you just proved me that there is another angle to the story.
Yeah.
Because if you want to grow as a professional and you want your people to grow with you, then you need to ask yourself that question. Okay, did I give this individual the proper training?
Yeah.
Did I put this individual in the right place?
Yeah.
And I feel like, and this is not only for chefs, this is
No.
for people in general.
No.
We never really ask ourselves
No.
if we've done anything wrong.
No.
But you just said to me that you do that all the time.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic thing to do.
Yeah.
Now I wonder, this approach you have, right, of asking yourself, okay, maybe I didn't show them how to chop the cauliflower properly,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Is it something that you realized over time? I mean, the Mikael Svensson of 10 years ago,
Yep.
did he have a big ego? You couldn't talk to him, and he thought he was doing everything right all the time.
No, I don't think and it's part of my personality. I think that I question everything, question myself a lot, question if it's good enough.
So you are like this even in your private life?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So he was born with you, essentially.
Yeah, I think so. It's something, or maybe I pick it up along the way, but I question things if it's always like good enough, or like still today, we're a 2 Michelin star restaurant, and I still question my food. Is it good enough?
You do that?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. I
Yeah.
don't think it's of course, chef.
No,
I
but
think it's
for me, it's of course.
for you it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Wow.
Still a lot of doubt if is dish good enough? Is the sequence of the menu good enough?
But isn't that the key to be successful, actually? Because imagine you wouldn't ask yourself that question anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Then you wouldn't be able to, I don't know, add more acidity to the dish, remove some acidity,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
this dish
I
needs
mean,
more
it's
fat
it's
or
a
less.
it's a dangerous balance, in the young days of Contrast, like when the restaurant was new, and also for the first years when we got the first star and so on, I could, like, the worst thing is that I think I changed the main course 3 times during 1 week because I wasn't just happy with it. Even though we got good feedback on it from the guests, I was like not good enough. It was, in my opinion, not good enough. I wasn't happy with it. I constantly questioned that dish. From we tested it, we were happy with it, put it on the menu, trained the cooks, had 1 day of it on the menu, and then it was like, no.
You probably don't remember this, but do you remember what exactly you were unhappy about?
I don't know exactly the
It's
dish
many years ago.
itself. Yeah, it's
So
many years ago. And, I don't exactly. I remember it was a lamb dish.
Okay.
We bought in whole lambs and using everything, and we did 1 dish first, and then we did a second version of that dish the day after, I think, and then we had that for 2 days, and then I
You changed
scratched
it.
it completely and changed it again, and drove the girl who was on the roast section completely nuts
Crazy.
that week. Yeah.
Interesting. So we mentioned Contrast. Now, Contrast has had an amazing journey as a restaurant, ups and downs, mostly ups. I hope you will tell us more.
Yeah, I think so. We're still around, so we should be mostly ups. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How hard it is to run a fine dining restaurant financially these days?
It's not just these days, but it's tough, or it's tough for everyone.
It's always been
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah. I mean, of course, we have years where it's been better, and you can be more relaxed. And then when you make a big investment and you take out that cushion you have, or like money in the bank or liquidity, and because you have to invest in it somehow, rebuild or refurnish a restaurant or whatever, then you always get worries. And then when you get downtimes and lower guest amounts, and yeah, it's a balance.
Did you have periods like that?
Yeah, I mean, Contrast's been around for over 11 years now.
Yeah,
So
over 10 years, 11 years.
yeah, so it's up and down. It's a cycle, but now, when you go through a down cycle or a down period, like for the 3rd, 4th, 5th time, I don't know, I don't count, but it makes you a little bit more relaxed, because you know it will.
It will pick up again.
Yeah, at some point it will turn. You just have to, like, sit calm and make the adjustment you have to make, and maybe save a little bit extra here and there, and
So it's
then-
not so much of a prayer. It's a prayer. You sitting down, hoping for things to get better,
you can't-
blended with a strategy.
You can't sit down and just wait for. You can't sit down and wait for things to change. You have.
So
to
you do
take-
have a strategy as well.
Yeah, of course. But what I mean is that you maybe not going nuts over everything, and you're more calm in yourself and knowing that if I do these things, we will come out on the other side.
What are these things exactly? Do you cut on stuff, or do you try and cut on, I don't think you will ever cut on raw material or stuff.
No, it's
because
not really cutting on raw materials. It's that maybe you just have to think more wisely about it. If well, are we using this fish or this fish? I mean,
Mhm.
they cost differently. Are we using this shellfish or this shellfish? I mean, can we be creative with this ingredient or so on? And also, just like, or you maybe not spend that extra money on that new machinery you want for the kitchen that month or that quarter or so on. And you have to be creative with what you have, and if everything is available to you all the time and you can do whatever you want, it kind of limits your creativity as well. Sometimes boundaries is good for that spark of creativity.
because it maybe pushes you to become creative on, for example, a raw material which could be considered a bit more poor,
Yeah.
not so rich,
Yeah.
compared
I mean,
to others.
some of our most celebrated dishes, like of course, when you put scallop and langoustines on the menu, people are gonna have that as a favorite because it's great ingredients. But some of the best experience guests have is when they get a cabbage or they get a celeriac or something like that, that is seen as a more humble ingredient or cheaper ingredient, that you don't have that when you get a you wouldn't know this because you're vegan, but when you get a langoustine in front of you.
You had to remind me,
Yeah.
because I even forgot about myself. So every 5
No,
minutes he
but
reminds me.
say sorry about that.
It's good. It's good.
No, but when you get a langoustine in front of you, for example, or scallop or caviar or whatever, you have immediately high expectations of that this will be good. But when you get a cabbage dish or a celeriac dish or something, you're like, celeriac, and then like people get like, wow, how can you do that with a celeriac? Or so you surprise people.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting because this perception that people have, right, about different raw materials, caviar versus cabbage, isn't that interesting? Because I think this is a cultural thing and it evolves with time.
Yeah.
Because I know, for example, I'm from the south of Italy, and I know that, my grandparents, for example, for them, it was a luxury to have certain ingredients at home. And we're talking mostly about vegetables, really.
Yeah.
Because, it wasn't always available to them. Or to them, what else was a luxury? To have 1 kilo of the same type of pasta available. Because back in the days, it was very common to buy mixed pasta as well.
Yeah.
It was cheaper.
Yeah.
In fact, we have many dishes with mixed pasta.
Yeah.
Of course, potatoes were available to a lot of people, but there were some ingredients, and mostly ingredients that today we would consider poor. We would consider simple, humble ingredients.
Yeah.
So don't you think the perception that people have of food in general, it's something that develops with time?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
So how did you started working in a kitchen around 2000? Something like that, 2005?
Yeah. I was around 2099, 2000.
I want to know if you think it's going, with time, is going to a good direction or a bad direction, first of all.
I think it's going in a good direction.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, because it's more room for that humble ingredient. I mean, I was 21 when I first stepped into a Michelin star kitchen and worked, and like the signature dish of like the house, the starter was 2 or 3 huge scallops paired with a piece of roasted foie gras on the plate. And there was
What was the restaurant, chef?
it was named 𝒟𝒏𝓙𝗙. Was here in Oslo.
It's
Was
no longer open now.
No, it's no longer open. It was very classic French fine dining, luxury ingredients. We If we bought cod, we basically just used the back loin for the guest. Like the mid part and the tail was just discarded or put as for staff food. I don't remember the whole menu, but we didn't really have any vegetable dish on the menu. And if we had, it was like super expensive, super fancy French asparagus flown in.
About 2 years ago, maybe, talking about how the evolution of food and the perception of it as well with time. I think this is something because, as a bartender, a spirits educator, I also look at these things because I want to be prepared for what's to come. So I sort of try and guess. Of course, sometimes I wish I had a crystal ball, right? But I don't. So I try and analyze patterns. But going back to food, I was about 2 years ago with Marika, my girlfriend. We were visiting New York and we went to what probably was one of the top 2 or 3 best culinary experiences I've ever had. And I can speak for her as well. I think she would agree with this. We went to 11 Madison Park.
Yep.
Now, talking about again the evolution of food and the perception of it, right? Now, 11 Madison Park, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, is an historical restaurant in New York City. They went 100% plant based, but of course they were completely the opposite before. They were I think popular for duck dishes.
Yeah, they were very luxury ingredient driven restaurant. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
And lots of meat, so exactly the opposite of what it is today. And then during the pandemic, the chef Daniel Hum, he decided, you know what, the world is changing, we have to change something here. Chef, let me tell you something. I had the experience there.
Were you there on the plant-based menu or
on the plant-based menu? I didn't try the other one.
No.
Because I was in New York before they turned plant-based, but I was broke at that time, so I couldn't afford to go and eat there. And regardless, they have a very affordable menu. It's not that much. And anyways, they gained 3 Michelin stars just serving plant-based food. And chef, I'm not kidding with you. This was the most satisfying experience of my life. But you know why? Because the food was not pretentious at all. It was simple. It was elegant. The flavors just spoke. It was expressive. I remember there was a dish with made of 3 ingredients only. It was sage, a tomato, and tofu, I think, that they made in house. But chef, say whatever you want. It was a super simple dish, but the flavors were just super expressive, extremely balanced, sweetness and acidity. Would you be interested in going to eat there just to see?
Yeah, for sure. I went to Noma during the summer for their vegetable season, and it was great. I mean, I was leaving very satisfied with like everything about how they could pack that much umami into vegetable dishes and the creativity they did with all seasonal ingredients. But no, like there's no but to the experience. It was a great experience. But like look outside now, it's like snow and ice in Norway. For me,
of course.
For me, it's more logic to follow the season and the country you're in than for me to fly in vegetables from around the world.
It's understandable. There was a great, there was a famous chef who passed away. His name was, please correct me if I'm wrong. He used to do TV shows. Anthony
Bourdain,
that one. He was talking about eating by seasonality, essentially, which is something that on your level you really care about.
Yeah.
Obviously, because you want the best raw materials at the best of their peak, at the peak of their quality,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Uh,
I mean,
we have lost that.
our menu is, we have a lot more vegetables on the menu, like during summer and early autumn, when you have all the mushrooms and all the root vegetables comes into play, and during summer when everything starts again, we have a lot more like vegetable based dishes, or that we let them play a bigger part of the plate if it's paired with protein. But now we're like in kale and onion season. It's like, and seafood is at its peak, and we have, Norway has a big coastline. It's I like to use fish, and but you have to be very careful these days where it comes from, how it's catched, and there's a whole different story of like sourcing your ingredients. It's not just, we can talk about vegetables or meat or fish, but how it's produced, where it comes from, what is the like impact of the ingredient you're using,
Exactly.
and that's
So
what that's a lot what we look at and care for.
and this is, essentially the evolution, right? Because
Yeah.
that's, the topic at this point,
Yeah.
of the evolution of food as and the perception of
Yeah.
it has changed massively over time.
Yeah.
Because again, going back to this famous chef, there was an interview he was giving. He was saying something like, back in the days, your grandparents used to wait for the tomato season, and they used to
Yeah.
look forward to the tomato season.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can get tomatoes the whole year round.
Yeah.
And is it really a good thing? Not really, because, then the tomatoes you get are not how they're supposed to be.
No.
And now, there seems to be a shift, a very interesting one, because, again, if I talk to people like you obviously care about that very much. And I guess you don't only care about seasonality for your restaurant, but also for what you eat at home. Am I correct to think
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
But then there is the public, right?
Yeah.
There is the consumer who simply goes to the supermarket to buy
But
whatever.
if you go to a supermarket in Norway or in the city, if you go through the vegetables and the meat and the fish section, that in most of the, I'm not going to name any names or something, but most of the supermarket chains and shops you go around, it's the meat and the fish that is there is so commercialized and industrialized. And when I see that, I totally understand your choice of being vegan. I don't buy that shit either, because how those animals are raised has nothing to do with animal welfare. In 95% of the things that are sold in a supermarket, and the seasonality doesn't change. If you go in January, April, August, September, whatever, it's 95% the same. I mean, you get strawberries now, and you get strawberries in July. You get tomatoes now, you get tomatoes in August. It's
Crazy, yeah?
Yeah, it's crazy, There's nothing in change, and it's like, it's very hard for a consumer to be, how I say, aware of it. And if you don't dig into it, and if you want to change, you have to spend hours a week to run around town to like buy proper ingredients. It's not an easy choice to be, I'll say, a well-educated personal shopper and go in a supermarket, because you can't make those options. It's very hard to make those choices in a normal supermarket in Norway today.
So, chef, you run, again, I said it before, I'm going to repeat it one more time. You run a successful restaurant. It's called Contrast. Currently, you have 2 stars. You just gained your second Michelin star last year, correct?
Yep.
2024.
Summer. Yep.
For which I congratulated you for, and
Yes,
told
thank you
you
very
it was
much.
about
Yep.
time you
Yeah.
got your second star.
Yeah.
You opened Contrast in 2013,
Yep.
yes, and you got your first star after 3 years. Now, I could picture you, because you are the sole owner of Contrast.
Yep.
You don't have big investors behind or companies.
No,
And you started it from the scratch.
Yep.
You and a few other people, you hired to work in the kitchen.
Yep.
What was the journey like from opening the doors to the venue putting a few tables there,
Yeah.
and then a kitchen, and then to gaining your first star. Was that a particular moment where you're like, hey, we got our star, we made it?
Yeah, no, that was never the feeling. I mean, the reason why I opened a restaurant was basically because I didn't find a job I wanted, and I was a bit naive as well. No, there was always kind of been a dream to open a restaurant, but how that restaurant would look and be have obviously changed dramatically through the years as I have been cooking. And then I came to a point where I didn't like agree with the people I worked for as a chef of like the budget or how many people you could have in the kitchen or how much you should spend on the menu and changing plates and whatever. And so I was like, either I find a job where I can be more part of the decision making and actually take my cooking where I wanted and use the ingredients I want to use, or I just have to create that job for myself then. And I kind of have to say I was lucky enough to find a space in a small hotel. So they would let me rent their breakfast room and do a restaurant in the evening. So it was, with today's terminology, you would say I run it like a pop-up. Like they did breakfast in the morning, they cleaned down, we came in, we set up the restaurant like we wanted and run a restaurant in the evening. And
So you brought the ingredients as well? With
no,
you,
we
or-
had a fridge and
Okay.
we shared the spaces in the fridge
Alright.
and so on. But
So you just brought, the tools and...
I can closely describe it as living with your landlord, and you drive each other nuts. And obviously, it didn't work very well. In the end, we had a bad breakup, if you say it like that. But I found, and I was ready to close. Like, okay, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. At least I tried. So I was kind of terminated my contract with them, and was facing like maybe I have to close the restaurant. If I don't find a new space. And then luckily enough, I found this space here in Vulcan, and they heard about contrasts. The decision makers in the landlord had been eating and liked the restaurant. So when I said I was moving, they were interested in partnering up and let me rent the space. And so I closed old contrast, put everything in a warehouse. We refurnished the space we're in today, and then we opened there in...
Do you remember how much money you started with? Approximately?
Like when I started Contrast the very first time, I think...
No, not the pop-up restaurant.
No.
The actual restaurant.
Well, that becomes a little bit of different because then you have had one business year, kind of. We opened 13. We did 2 months. Then we did whole of 14 where we did have a busy restaurant, so we made money that year, and also like had all the plates and some pots and pans and some equipment and so on. So that was ours or mine, but I couldn't move with me to the new premises.
But you don't remember exactly how much you started with?
No, because
Was it much?
for me back then, yes, it was everything I had. Like,
So
yeah.
it's make it or break it.
Yeah, basically. But
Sorry, can I just ask you, were you already married back then?
no.
No, okay,
No.
so you were single as well. I guess
I had a girlfriend at
you
the
had a
time. Yeah,
girlfriend,
yeah,
okay, but you didn't have a family,
no,
you know.
no.
So I guess that choice today
Yeah, and
will look very different.
Yeah, it would, because now you have someone to provide for, and you have a house that you have to pay the loan on, and I was just renting, and I was used to moving around. I spent a lot of years just having a suitcase with me and like crashing on couches or renting a space, So I was very comfortable with if shit hits the fan, and I mean I have to close. I can always find a work. I can take my suitcase and go to another city and get a work.
Easy.
I wasn't worried. Today is a little bit more difficult.
Of course it
Yeah,
is. Of
yeah.
course it is. But I think everybody goes through that stage. But how was it like to start with a few tables and chairs to gaining your first star 3 years later?
I mean,
It must be a massive celebration
it
in your
was
head.
like the best way I can describe it is like it's a enormous like pat on your back, like fucking great work.
It's an enormous pat on your back.
Yeah.
No, but it also
Yeah.
it's a boost for the restaurant as well,
Yeah.
no?
Because it's kind of a recognition for what you have done, not for what you believe you can do. It's
Mhm.
like you have to get to
Nice.
a certain level before they put that stamp on you. So
That's a
speak.
good
Yeah.
one, a very good one.
Yeah.
Did you study how Michelin inspectors work and what they look for? Or were you just
No.
being yourself?
No, it's never been like a goal or a target in itself to get a Michelin star. It's been like I've been comfortable enough and cooking in such a good restaurant, so I know when we reach the level I can cook on, we would eventually gain a star at some point. That was my look on things. But if that would be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, if like to get to the level I want to be cooking at, then we should probably get it. That was how I looked at on it, but I didn't know if it was. And in my opinion, I was kind of surprised we got it like that year. I was still thinking we were,
You were.
like, yeah, I think we were like not ready for it, or like I didn't think we were at that level at the time. I was wanting more, you know.
So,
Yeah.
because my question now was, did you deserve it
Like
according to you?
according to
Obviously, according to the inspectors, you did.
yeah,
But according to you, this is because I want to understand how
honestly,
critical you are with yourself.
honestly, no.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I thought we still had a bit to go when we got the first star.
But I think this is you being overly critical with yourself.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Interesting. Massive celebration. Did you celebrate?
Yeah, we did. Yep.
Did you open a bottle? Did you open a beer?
We opened a few bottles of champagne. I was in that when we got the first star. That was the first year Michelin did a event in Scandinavia, but it was a very small. It was like a small press release. All the chefs who got a star that year, like the first, second, or third in Scandinavia, we were in Copenhagen, so we were just sitting in a conference room I remember this very well. There's a funny story behind it, actually.
Tell me.
Because it was the first year that they were not before they just sent out a press release, like released a paper saying this is the stars of 2016 in Scandinavia. So, but since they were going to do this event where they're going to fly people down to Copenhagen and bring them in on stage and give them a jacket and have press there and so on. So they called me up 2 days before just to make sure that I was aware and I was going to come to Copenhagen, and I was of course have to be quiet about it. And then newspapers, all the speculation started, and they started asking me if what I think and yada yada and so on. And I'm like, I have no idea. Let's see, and And then the day before, the whole year, me and Espen at Miami, we had like talks of what we think and how it's going. And one of the like we matched some guests to see if it's an inspector and so on. And then the day
Is it common to do between chefs?
Yeah, it's very common. Yeah.
Good. Thank you for the insight.
Yeah, it's very common too. Like, oh, we think this is, or
Of course.
you're never sure.
No.
Sometimes they present themselves, and of course, then the message gets around town or so on, and they know that as well. So it's a cat and mouse game between the inspectors and the chefs, trying to figure out if they're coming or in the inspectors or not. So they know about it, we know about it, and then we chase each other around. And
breaking news, guys! The
yeah.
conspiracy theories of Michelin
Yeah.
star chefs behind the scenes.
Anyway,
Yes.
so the evening before the Michelin award, I know I'm going, and Espen calls me up and so what do you think? Or you heard it's gonna be a press release in Copenhagen. You know, they went out and they're gonna have a press release. And he was like, "Are you going?" And like, "No, I'm not going. Why should I go? You know, I haven't heard anything or something." I said, "Are you going?" Because they were currently at 2-star and chasing the third one. So like, "Are you going?" And like, no, I haven't heard anything. I'm not going or anything. And then like, and he said like, "Why don't you, I know you're nervous. Why don't you come down and have a meal at 𝒟𝒻𝐻 tonight? And you can slow down, and like, don't be don't think about it."
Relax.
Yeah. So yeah, sure. Like, I come down. Like, why not? Eating at 𝒟𝒻𝐻 is always nice, so I went down there. And then they are in service. He comes down. I remember this very well. So he comes down to the table, and this is the old 𝒟𝒻𝐻 when they have the kitchen above.
Yes.
And I noticed like he knows something, and I think he knows as well. He knows something, and we were like sitting there looking at each other. So, are you going? Like, no, I'm not going. Are you going? No, I'm not going. Like, no. Why? Like,
I see where this is going.
And then the next morning, when I woke up to my gate in flying to Copenhagen, like,
you see him there.
Who's standing there?
But why couldn't you just tell to each other that you were both going? What was that all about?
No, but it's like,
it's a chef's thing.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to say either. So, and then it was the first time, so you didn't. So,
yeah, but you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if your mom asks you, right, you'll tell her, "Hey, look, I'm going." You know, you're not allowed technically to even tell that to your mother.
Luckily, she never asked.
No.
Yeah. No, but then we were sitting in this conference room, and everything got delayed because Michelin desperately tried to get hold of Rasmus Kofoed of Geranium, because he was also getting 3 stars.
Geranium.
Yeah, but he didn't pick up the phone, or no one was here. So everything got delayed because they, of course, desperately wanted him there, like to give him it's the first time anyone got 3 stars in Scandinavia with Geranium and 𝒟𝒻𝐻. So
right.
It was a big thing.
So that year 𝒟𝒻𝐻 got 3 stars as well.
They got 3.
And you got your first.
Yep.
Wow, what a year, man.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing the Michelin guy on the phone trying, to reach out, and the guy not picking up the phone.
Yeah.
He probably saw the call. He's like, nah, I don't want to talk to these guys.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's what happened.
No, you don't know what number it is, so you don't know. Like.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. That's why I'm not picking up numbers. I don't know.
It's not like I don't have the number to Michelin and can call them and say like, "Hi, how are you doing?" And
you don't.
Like, well, you have everybody has to find a number to the head office, of course. But
there you go.
Yeah.
Just Google.
Yeah, I can't call the inspector and saying, "Hey, are you coming this year?"
You can't.
No, I can't.
You wish you could, right?
I wish I could.
Yes, of course. Listen, chef, it's not easy to run a successful fine dining restaurant, financially speaking. Earlier, when you came in before the interview or before the chat, we were discussing about finances, and you told me that, of course, the margins have changed over time, right?
Yep.
Of course, cost has changed over time, and the idea I think many people have of a fine dining restaurant, a 2-star restaurant in your case, is that, for example, in Italy, most of fine dining restaurants, they're not profitable. No. And they close after some time. Or if they stay open, they go in massive debts, and which they're basically swimming in debts, and they're not able to get out of it, and they essentially ruin their lives.
Yep.
Now, of course, running, a famous Michelin or fine dining restaurant gives you a certain popularity, which you can then use to go on TV and make money in other ways, private events, and so on and so forth. This is not your case, because your restaurant has always been profitable. Of course, you've done things on the side. We've done an event with Michelin together.
Yep.
But your restaurant has been mostly profitable. So I want to know, if I want to run a profitable 1, 2, 3-star restaurant or whatever, just fine dining, how do I do it?
Yeah,
take me through that
question.
Process a little bit.
Yeah, I always had to look at the restaurant or contrast that it's a business, and we have a certain few pillars that I build my business on. It's and it's all around sustainability, and how you define sustainability is different in what you look at, but it has to be
Sustainability of the business as well.
yeah, exactly. It has to be a sustainable workplace. We talked about staff, so it has to be a workplace where the staff can feel they have the economy to work there as well. So they have a decent salary and they can afford to do things on the day off, and that they are not ruining their lives to build my dream. So they're not. I'm not punching them 350 hours in the month and kicking them around and screaming. So we have to have a good, sustainable workplace for everybody who's working there. Of course, what goes on the plate, what everybody looks on, it has to be sustainable. And then it's a business. It has to be a sustainable business. At the end of the day, we have to make money to earn our living right. But of course, some has deeper pockets because they have someone who's putting in money and don't have to make a profit, but that's not our case. So I have to adjust what we are doing accordingly to what we make, our revenue, and that has been the balance throughout the years. And
In percentage, what is the margin you have on? So when you're calculating the food costs of a dish, you also include many other things in there. Of course, you include.
we have to look. We can like calculate one dish, or we can calculate one dish, but we calculate the menu price. And that goes up and down through the year. And now we are maybe at the most expensive menu, so to speak, because we use, like in the winter we normally do it because you have winter truffles that I like to use on the menu. It's quite expensive. Seafood at its peak, we do langoustines, scallops, we do oysters, we do caviar. It's just a lot of high costing ingredients, and also then we do reindeer as a meat that is a expensive meat.
But in terms of percentage, right? When you calculate your food costs,
Yep.
essentially, so what's your target? Do you have a target to stay within, like a limit you won't go over? Because otherwise, then you're going break even on that dish, or you're even losing money on that dish.
No, I don't.
You don't have it,
No.
but you do that calculation in your head somehow.
Yeah. I keep track of what we're doing, of course, and like if I do a calculation of a dish just to know what it costs, and then if that goes really high.
Can you give me an example, not from the current menu, maybe, because I'm not sure you want to tell people your business, but
No.
from the past, maybe,
I mean,
a ballpark figure for people to understand what the cost of a fine dining 2-star dish is or can cost. It varies. I know it's a very broad question.
It varies, but take a simple example like langoustines, for example.
Yes.
They're sold by.
You like to talk about langoustines very much, almost as much as I like to talk about tomatoes.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, but I love tomatoes in the summer as well. They're great.
Seasonality.
Yeah. And in some years we paid more for tomatoes than we paid for langoustines.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
But because we had this small, very organic farm, we worked very close with 𝒟𝒏𝓏. They now stopped their production because they got old and couldn't sustain the business anymore and so on. But they have the best tomatoes that I've eaten in Norway because they let them take their time, and they have not the most commercial varieties, and they don't have the early varieties. So we got them in August, but it's very late for anywhere in the world. But the taste of it was it's amazing, And then
I'll take your word for it.
yeah, and hand picked by them and hand grown, or like how you've been out there, you see how they care for the the plants from they start them in the spring.
Chef,
and
you have to stop there. I didn't have breakfast. You're making me hungry
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
can we just go back to the the dish and food cost, because
Yeah,
I think it's a very interesting
say,
topic.
okay, so the reason why I take langoustine is because it's like such a easy example. They are sorted by the size. So you have 4 to 7 and 7 to 12. 4 to 7 means you get 4 to 7 langoustines per kilo.
Right.
And the kilo price is around 400 kronos now, give or take, depending on. And some can be expensive. We have some we have to pay like up to 800 kronos for, depending who supplier we get them from. But it says itself, if you get 4 langoustines for 400 kroner a kilo, then that langoustine tail we put on the plate costs 100 kronos.
100 kroner.
And then if we get 7 on a kilo,
then it's around 70 or something.
Exactly. So yes, we want a certain size because it grills very nicely. It's nice eating them, and it looks
Because
good on the plate.
Langoustines,
and,
you serve the.
we serve one tail per person.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I see.
So the food cost one day is like, okay, now it's 100 kroner for this plate, and then
It's 70 now.
yeah, 60, 65, 70, 75, 95, So
But that's not the only cost. You have other things there.
yeah,
right?
then there is other things on the plate as well, of course.
So the food cost of a generally speaking, again, the food cost of a dish you prepare now can go anywhere between 100 to 250 kroner.
No,
not that much.
Not 250 kroner. Then we would be bankrupt.
Exactly, that's my point. So
I mean, we're doing between say 14 to 17 servings,
okay,
depending a little bit on the size and the servings and so on. So if we have 15 servings, then it costs me 200 kroner.
then you lock the doors
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Then we have to charge like 14,000 for the menu or something.
How much do you charge now?
2,950.
It's not too bad.
No, and then 25%.
I could come and eat at your place every day.
25% goes away in MBA, and then you have to pay the bills and the rest.
I see.
Music license and all the things that you don't see on the plate.
No,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
And the staff needs to be paid well.
Yeah.
This money need to come from somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about percentage of income and outcome, staff is the most expensive post. We're like some months we're above 50% in staff cost. So 50% of what half of what you pay in the restaurant goes to the staff.
That's massive.
Yeah.
How much do you spend in salaries in total? Ballpark, again, every month.
Some is based by the hour, and some is on fixed income.
Ballpark. Between and from two.
Between 600 and 900,000 a month, plus
every month.
Yeah, and then employment fee and.
Can I ask you, how do you feel when you see all these, because you pay them all on the same day, right?
Yeah.
So it's all this money going out from the account.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
How do you feel when that happens?
Well, it's like the few days before, you pay every 2 months. We pay the tax and the MBA and the employment fee. You don't pay that every day, so or every month. So when you haven't paid that for 2 months, and then it's like the few days before you have. And all the bills from the suppliers fall around the same time as we pay out the salaries. So just say 5 days before that, you're looking at your bank account, fuck, I'm rich.
Yes.
And then a week later, you have paid out like 2.5 million kronas to the government, to bills, to staff, to everything.
No, but what is the actual feeling? Because I'll tell you something, chef.
I'm telling you, like, you look at your bank account, fuck, I should take this money and run, before I have to pay my bills.
Exactly.
Then a week later, you feel you're broke.
Opportunity can create thieves,
Yeah.
That's the saying. Because I'm telling you, I pay an accountant, right? And even when my accountant sends me the bill and he's nowhere near that figure, I'm like, man, should I really? Should I? I wanna press the confirm the payment.
Yeah.
But then my finger, it's I don't know. It's like there is this other hand that it's just stopping the finger from.
Yeah.
And I can imagine when you're looking at these numbers, 2 million kroners, yes, 2 million kroners,
Yeah,
which
easily.
is,
Yeah.
100,000 euros to 200,000 euros,
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
approximately.
Yeah.
Interesting. Chef, I've been praising you so far, but now I have to make it a little harder, just a little bit,
Yeah.
because you also had a not so successful restaurant story.
Yep.
Right? Or you will tell me your perspective there and your point of view. Maybe it was successful from your point of view, but as I know you, you wouldn't consider that super successful, which was Avalon. So after contrast, you decided to open a. Can you would you consider it a brasserie, a more easygoing restaurant?
Yeah, easygoing. I mean, we struggled with the terminology when I was going to open it. Like,
Right.
what are we going to describe it as? Because a brasserie is like a certain style of restaurant,
Yes.
and it wasn't a brasserie, but in lack of other terms, you
just called it a brasserie.
Yeah, I didn't call it anything, but I
No,
think
you didn't
people
call
call
it
it a brasserie.
So you opened, and it was a more easygoing restaurant, more for everyday and
Yeah, let's say
more comfort food maybe as well.
like the easiest way to describe it is and that's what I would like to say. If I would invite a bunch of friends and family for dinner on a summer stay at home, that's what I would cook. Like a big table, some small snacks, small starters, a little bit to share, and then for main course I would do whole grilled fish or a big piece of meat with a lot of side dishes.
Depends on who you invite. Okay.
I'm coming to that. With a lot of side plates with a lot of vegetables and some different sauces. So you have your fish, your meat, your vegetables, and a family meal basically. And the style of food that I would cook at home, and I'm not bound by any tradition, or like if I want to make a pasta, I make a pasta. If I want to make a Spanish rice, I make that.
Chef, this is called cultural appropriation. You can get cancelled for cooking pasta if you're Swedish today.
Yeah.
Just saying. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Food doesn't have boundaries actually.
Yeah. No.
Do you think food has boundaries?
No.
Not at all, right?
I mean, if you say you're gonna cook, if you're gonna say you're gonna cook a beef Wellington, you have to cook it by the recipe and by the tradition how it's supposed to be. Yes, you can make some twitches, but you have to follow what a Wellington is if you're gonna cook a Wellington. But then you can make anything rolled in puff pastry and bake in the oven, but it's not a Wellington.
Right.
So it depends what you want to do.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
But just respect the DNA of the dish, of the ingredients. Very important. But going back to Avalon, would you like some more water, by the way?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Can we get some water, please? Anyways, so you opened Avalon, and the concept was, or at least the concept of the food was, you just said it. It was the food, the style of food was the type of food I would cook if I invited family and friends to my home, essentially. So sharing meat, fish, vegetables, and so on. And, in the beginning, you had quite a bit of press as well. People talk, because obviously you are a likable individual. You know how to treat people. People like you. And of course, when you open a new restaurant, the people who like you, which is a lot of them, I know that, they want to support you. They come and,
but
they're also curious.
It's not every day like a Michelin star chef open as a second more
exactly. So
accessible
it's about curiosity as well, right?
Yeah.
To come and see. So for the first period, it went well. Then things changed.
Yep.
And I'll let you take over from this because I don't want to narrate it for you. So I will let you narrate your own story here with the second restaurant you opened.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I just have to take it a few steps back.
Okay.
Because there's always been, when I opened Contrast, it was very kind of simple cooking, if you put it that in those words. Like we weren't that many in kitchen, and it was always based on like the great ingredients cooked well, and then some creativity to it. And then as contrast evolved, it gets more and more detail focus, more and more control. Like you get small tweezers in, and everything has to be right and perfect. And I always I love cooking, no matter like what. I love cooking. I love creative new dishes. I love this like focus on details we put at contrast. But I also like just sitting in my shorts and a t-shirt, and maybe not even a t-shirt, and grilling my meat on a summer's day, and just roast my cauliflower.
You're very big on cauliflower.
Yeah, I'm big on
You're
cauliflower.
a cauliflower guy.
Yeah. So when you get too focused on one side, I missed the other part, if you put it like that. So they presented me this beautiful space. I still think it's a beautiful space. And whereas the building was being processed, and they needed some help with some interior placement of things and so on. So I helped them with that, and then so are you maybe interested in seeing a contract and what you can do there? And we were thinking maybe something down the line of a wine bar. And I said to them, it's like, if you want the wine bar, it's pretty stupid to ask a chef to open open there, because it will be a restaurant. It will be focused on food, but yeah, we can do a lot of wine and be accessible. And then I always had this urge to go back to the simplicity of things, or more accessible restaurant. And I was thinking it was yeah, if I'm gonna do it, maybe now is the time. I'm not gonna get a more beautiful room to do it in.
You're not getting any younger, chef.
Yes, exactly that too. And so we were dealing with the contract for almost a year, I think. And then as I remember this, I told this story to many people, but the landlord and me we decided we finally gonna sign the contract. We're both happy with it, and we kind of sitting there signing it and laughing yeah, 𝐷𝐴 is gonna have home office this week because this flu thing that is coming around,
Uh-huh.
ha ha ha, yeah. And then 2 weeks later we had the first lockdown and had to close the restaurant. And then a week into lockdown, I found out we're gonna have a baby. So
Right.
they're sitting lockdown, have to plan a kitchen for the new restaurant, and everything else, of course. But we had to look the drawings for the kitchen and dealing with that, and then also the fact that you're gonna be a father, and all had no idea what that means really. And also that your restaurant that was going very well is closed, and you don't know how it's gonna become with um the support that we finally got from the government, and the costs and so on, that was not in the place. So you see your liquidity, all the money going out down the drain.
Yeah, you didn't know you were going to get that support at that point,
No,
right?
yeah, exactly. And then of course, being the owner, your personal finances as well, and
It was a very tough moment, right?
yeah. And then okay, maybe we should try to get some investors for the second restaurant, but then try to get an investor for industry that is under lockdown and you're not allowed to have open. So at least it was not easy to find anyone, and I didn't find anyone. So and of course a contract is a contract, so you just have to
You
push
have to
forward.
honor it.
Yeah. Yeah. Then we all
How
know.
did you make it happen then? Because emotionally speaking, mentally, that must have been a massive slap on your face with all these things coming together.
Yeah, no, it was hard. It was extremely hard.
And again, you don't have to answer to this, but did you get into some sort of depression at that point? Or what did you feel?
I think you went through all the emotions you can go through. And yeah, it's still affected to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah, but the strength of an individual is to,
yeah.
show the capability to move on even in tough moments. And
Yeah, I mean, you
you're a
kind
big
of
guy,
have to push on, yeah.
Not only physically, you're a big guy, but not only physically, mentally. So
yeah, no,
you see, it's
it
still
was
affecting you to this day.
yeah,
How?
it does. I mean, like we spoke about before, you question yourself. I question myself a lot. Like could have done things differently. Was this now? This is the outcome it is, but what could I have done differently? Could have, of course, if I knew if things would happen a different way, like say we would know about our son before and the lockdown second, I would never sign the contract,
Of
obviously.
course.
But it is what it is. You just have to manage it in somehow.
But you managed to deal with it somehow.
Yeah.
Because in the end, you did open the second restaurant.
Yep.
And you probably must have been, going through a crazy period of your life. And how do you maintain the mental sharpness to go through this? Because you signed the contract, but it's not done. It's not finished there, right?
No,
Then you need to
that's when
organize.
the work starts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how did you go about that process? Because then you need to be mentally sharp.
Yeah.
To set up the kitchen, the staff, the floor, the structure, and the menu.
Yeah.
Very important part, I guess.
Yeah.
How did you go about knowing everything you were going on?
Yeah, menus. I had a old boss who told me once I was working for him. He has a lot of restaurants in this town. He said, if it would just been about cooking, it would have been easy.
Right.
Yeah. So that's
What's his name?
𝒟𝒶𝓎𝗢𝗙.
Of course.
𝒟𝒶𝓢𝗙 Group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beyond Tour.
So smart man.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And I think he proved it over time
Yeah, I
to
think
be a
so.
smart
Yeah, I
man.
think so too. Yeah.
But how did you go about? Because is there anything you were doing to stay sane mentally? Do you work out?
Yeah, I mean, training has always been a part of it. Obviously, finding time for that is always was harder. But play golf. I played ice hockey a lot before. Then I stopped with COVID, of course, and 2 restaurants wasn't time for that. Started again this year. Trying to go to gym, golf, meet friends.
Did you have support from your partner at that time?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Of course,
Yeah,
her being pregnant,
Yeah, I mean, she was obviously affected about it as well, and me being moody and down, thinking it's hard, and she being pregnant with all the emotions she's going through, and after the birth, of course, he was born a couple of weeks into the second lockdown. So we had 6 months. That was still before opening because the Avalon took time to build, with the house and
I
everything.
remember.
Yeah. So we had like 6 months, just the 3 of us. And I'm still planning the restaurant. So you have to kind of make your business calls when he has his nap in the daytime and,
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was.
But then you did open the restaurant eventually.
Yeah.
And take me through that process. So, because then you closed it after how long?
Well, we close now to Christmas, so 3 years, just over 3 years.
Just over 3 years.
Yeah.
Is it because you realized that it was taking too much of your time? Was there a financial reason to it? And if so, I want to know because I think this experience is super valuable.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to be happy when things go well, right?
Yeah, it didn't go well. It didn't end like I wanted it to, of course.
What exactly didn't go well and what would you change? Because look, this is an experience you had on yourself.
Yep.
And people can just listen to your story and learn from your advices in this case. And that's what I'm trying to do here.
I haven't really figured out why it didn't work because in the beginning it was a great success, or it seemed like it because we were like extremely busy in the beginning. And then, of course, you have your bumps in the road as a new restaurant. Some guests are not happy, of course. You have some service issues and concept issues, or the fact where we're serving just big cuts of fish and meat, so we don't have. If you coming with like 2 friends or 1 partner or just 1 friend, you can't have your individual plate. We don't do
Right.
like single free or like classic free course. I think maybe that concept was a little bit hard for some to understand or grasp. The service style, location.
Would you do it in a different location if you could go back?
Yeah, but not as long as I have contrast.
No.
It's a little bit with opening your second restaurant. You just double the
workload.
the workload as owner and the cost, because you're not big enough to have in-house accounting. So you're paying accounting for both restaurants. You're not big enough to have marketing teams, so you're paying marketing both restaurants. You're not big enough, so you kind of have to, if you want to have like cut costs, you kind of have to go bigger so you can have that in-house instead of like, say, accounting, for example. If you can hire one accountant who can do 4 restaurants, so to speak, you're not paying more than you doing at 2 restaurants.
No.
So say that's half cost. And then me being like only sole owner and managing all of that, I can still want to be hands-on in the kitchen. And unfortunately, maybe build both restaurants so that I kind of have to be hands-on. It becomes too much. Like you think you're gonna do prep shift at Avalon, for example, and then you're gonna go home when the service starts to spend time with your family. Instead of someone is sick at contrast, you kind of have to stop prep earlier
And
you
go to the other
go to everyone
restaurant
and do the last of prep there, so it's not a complete shit show when service starts, and then you have to do service there instead of going home and have a rest or do like
things like normal people should do.
yeah,
which
or
is-
like when after you have family, like dinner with your family, and then when he goes to bed, you were planning to do 2 hours of office work. Instead, you do prep, service, come home when everybody's gone to sleep. You don't do your office work that you're supposed to do, so that's piling up. And then the next day, you were supposed to do 2 hours office work, but you have 4 hours to do office work. You have things that would take you 4 hours, but you don't have 4 hours because you also have to prep in the kitchen, or you had a meeting you can. So then the next day you have 4 hours of office work you still haven't done, and then it's weekend and it's busy, and so
Is there
could be a shit show.
from this whole experience? Could be, yes. From this whole experience, is there? What's the most valuable lesson you've learned from closing a restaurant? And then I'm going to ask you the same thing for Contrast, which it's still open and hopefully will be open for a long time. I just hope you will change your mind and start cooking some vegetables, only vegetables. But that's a discussion for a separate, for another episode, maybe.
Yeah.
Another episode. Chef Mikael Svensson, Contrast is turning plant-based. Hello.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
We'll see about that, he said.
Yep.
What's the most valuable lesson you learned from the closing of that restaurant, of Avalon?
I'm not sure. I haven't really processed it yet.
You're still...
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Then you'll tell us next time you come.
Yep.
But there must be one thing... There must be one thing that made you go, okay, I made that mistake. I'm not making that same mistake ever again if I ever open a restaurant.
I don't think there is one single thing that you can put your finger on why it failed, Or, yeah, I would say fail. I think I would think very hard about location. I think
There you go.
Yeah. I think I'm not blaming just the location for the failure, but I think it's a big part of it.
A good 30-40%?
Maybe. No.
Would a restaurant like that work better?
Or
in
I'm not saying I still think the location is great, to be honest, but
okay.
It's maybe the concept at that place, or
So the concept that fits the location. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not just the location by itself.
No.
You think a concept like that would have worked better in in a more hipster area, for
I
example,
think
like
so.
𝒟𝒏𝓏 here?
Yeah, I think so.
Just that the rent in this area is...
It's not exactly cheap down there either. So
But then again, just sell your watch.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to fix all your problems.
yeah,
No,
right.
but okay, so that's that.
Wouldn't even pay for a month's salary.
Well, depends on how much is your salary monthly, chef.
I mean, for the staff at the restaurant.
The
yeah.
staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, was it between 1 and 2 million kroners? That's I know you said
that's-
staff cost. It's
yeah.
only 500,000 or something like that. No, between 600 and 900,000.
Yeah.
You said.
Yeah.
Massive staff cost.
Mm.
But anyways, I have troubles to pay 10,000 to the accountant. Let's do the other way around. So we spoke about Avalon. I want to know one thing that you do really well and you've done really well at Contrast. Something that really allowed you to be successful there.
I mean,
And I don't want to know about your looks, okay?
No, that's everything.
Operation wise.
No, but I think slowly and steady, just increasing. We all have good and bad days. Restaurants has as well, and not all menus or all dishes or like the whole menu, the sequence of dishes have been like. Say it goes up and down. I mean, like some days you all know this. If you go to a bar or a restaurant or whatever, sometimes you have a great fucking meal. It's like massively good. And then next time you come back, it's not equally great, but it's still good.
Yes.
What is dangerous is if it drops to
From
below a
good
certain...
to mediocre.
Yeah. Because none of us want to go, like, don't know what to expect when we come there. You don't go to a place where it's a lottery if it's going to be good or bad. No matter level, And also when you tell your friends, like, go to this place because it's always good. But if you don't know if it's good, you're not going to recommend people, right? If it's a lottery, if like it's depends on who's at work, if they're having a good day or bad day at the kitchen. So what we
consistency you're talking
the consistency, and I mean, it's always variables. Like all restaurants have like ups and downs, because you change your stuff, you change your ingredients, you change your menu, and your opinion on what is great is different from what my opinion is great. But you have a low bar where you never go under. I think that's really important. Like, stop looking at your peaks, because you can have high peak, like crazy high peaks. But stop looking at those and look at where is your...
The other way around.
Yeah.
So look at the other side of the bar.
Where is the low point where you never ever step under, no matter what a shit show it is in back of a house, or you didn't get the delivery, or it got in 5 hours too late, or whatever. What is the lowest you like, the standard you never drop below?
And what is it for you?
And that's the bar we've been raising.
You've been
day.
raising that bar slowly.
Yeah, we're not like we're not looking at
the top. You're looking at the bottom.
Yeah, to constantly
raise
lowering.
The bottom.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
Can I ask you what exactly was the standard you started with? Like you said, you have a bottom line and you don't go below that, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit more about that? Give me an example.
It's a lot of things, but it's like.
It's of course service related.
It's service
related.
Like how the setup at the table is, how the welcome you come into the restaurant, to welcome at the door, or even starts with like when you make a reservation, how we remind you of the reservation, when you come to the restaurant, how you greeted at the door, where you like how you get shown to the table, like.
I think it's easier maybe if we talk about food, right? So let's say you're cooking a langoustine, yes?
Yep.
For example.
Yeah.
Is there a discrepancy? Is there a space you leave to yourself to say, okay, it's not cooked exactly at 100% the way I wanted it, but it's a 99%.
Yep.
We can still serve it.
Yep.
Do you only accept 100%? Or do you also accept 99%, which is as close as it gets to 100%?
Yeah, yeah. I think you have to, because that goes a little bit with
Business sustainability. Otherwise, you have to throw it away.
yeah, business sustainability, and also the flow of the dinner for you as a guest,
Right.
and the guest around you. Because if we have to cook a dish again, throw it away and cook it again,
Takes time.
And do we have, obviously we always have extra. We don't have, if we have 30 guests, we don't have 30 pieces. We have more, of course. If shit hits the fan, we still have to, you can't go out and say to a guest like, yeah, sorry, we overcooked your cod, so you're not getting any cod today because we only had 30 pieces, and sorry, your piece was shit, so we thrown away.
So 99 you still accept. Would you
No.
still accept 98? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, I
How
think
low
it's,
would you go?
I think it's hard to put it in percentage.
Okay.
It's a measurement of like I said, like
You decide at the
what
moment.
is like is this, because sometimes it's like 99%. It's like, but what are the effect if we serve it or not serve it? You know, because even though we try to eliminate all the, we try to control everything that's not controllable, of how many guests comes per hour, the sequence of the menu, how fast we go, when we're serving each dish, and the flow of the menu for you as a guest. But if the table next to you decides to go for a smoke break for 50 minutes, and you came 20 minutes too late, like your food is like the sequence that we are trying to control, you have changed.
Yes.
So the flow of the kitchen crashes. So maybe you already waited.
Don't, guys, when you go to fine dining restaurants, do not get out and go for a smoke outside, because you are disrupting.
No, of course you should.
Yeah, but then you need, that's where the experience comes in, and says, okay, and that's why you need also very experienced people in the kitchen to deal with that kind of thing. Chef, this is a funny one. Nobody ever thinks about this. I mean, I do this all the time. If, I'm in a restaurant, I go out, I want to have a smoke or whatever, right?
You know what the worst is? He's going to educate diners a little bit.
Yes.
Is you have a long menu, of course, and you need to go in the toilet.
Yes.
And if we clear the dish, we set up the table, then before it's cleared, the next dish is called. Like waiters tell the kitchen.
So they clean the table, and then the waiter goes to the kitchen and calls the next.
We call before we clear.
You call it before.
It depends a little bit on the cooking time of the next dish, and also how many tables we have to serve at the same time, and the flow of the restaurants and diners and yada yada yada. But say just to make it simple, the waiter see you're finished with the plate. They call the next dish, and then they go out and clear. And then they put the cutlery. The sommelier, they come with new wine. The sommelier comes and done the wine presentation. And during this time, we are cooking your dish, right? And then when the sommelier is done with his presentation and you tasted the wine, the food should come on the plate or on the table. Because then we have cooked it, we plated it, and it's ready to go. Then you decide to go to the toilet. Then we obviously have to stop and like, okay, how long can we hold this plate before it goes bad?
Jesus. So you actually calculate?
Yeah. And then we have to make an adjustment. Do you go to the toilet just quickly and have a pee and you come back? Or you're standing in there looking at your beard and your hair and taking a selfie and texting a friend, and then like the plate is ruined and we have to start again. So we start again, then you come back, and then your missus go to the bathroom. And then like, okay, we're done. Is she coming back? No, she's not coming back because she's also taking a selfie,
Jesus.
So,
Sounds like a nightmare, man.
Yeah, and all that time, that's just your table. And then you have to, so that's why it's like, you can say, yeah, we only accept 99%, but say like, now this thing or this piece of fish has been recooked twice, and you're sitting at the table wondering why the fuck the food is taking so long. and we're just wanting to serve it to you, and we're already cooked it twice. It's like, okay, so if we're gonna throw it out again and start cooking a third time for your table, just to get from 98.5 to 99.7, then, but you're sitting there getting upset because you waited half an hour for your plate of food.
Then blame yourself as well at some point.
We're not going to go out and say, okay, this is not according to point because you took too long of being in the toilet, So there's a lot of variables, like where it's like.
Do you think diners in general should be educated a little more on how to behave in a restaurant, or do you think they should be also, because being free of going to the bathroom, taking a selfie, whatever, it's also part of the experience, right?
Of course it is.
But then it messes your life up more.
Yeah.
How do you take that? Are you stressed by that still? Because you've been doing this for many years.
Yeah.
So I want to know, did you learn after a while, when you, for example, there is a friend of mine, and, he's spent many years in a bar, and now he has this thing that it's a bit of a cliche, but I guess it's true, that when he sees people entering the door, he looks at them and he already knows everything about them.
Yep.
Because when you've been doing this for 30, 40 years, in his case, then that's how it works. Does that happen to you as well? Because to you, it's almost, you almost have to become a maniac over these things. Okay, so he went to the bathroom. Delay the cooking of the langoustine by 40 seconds or 1.5 minutes.
Yeah.
You are a bit of a freak for time. We had an event together. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the event we had together, it was a cocktail and food pairing.
Yep.
And I remember at some point you were pissed with me because the cocktails were taking too long and the food was already there.
Yep.
And the drinks should be on the table before the food.
Yep.
And you're like, if you tell me 2 minutes, it has to be 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And but it's a very difficult skill to learn, to calculate time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So does it happen to you that you look at someone and you're like, okay, they're gonna be back from the bathroom in 3 minutes?
We try to read guests, of course. Of course you do. Yeah.
Of course.
Then,
I don't think
then it's like some eat fast, some eat slow, some like to analyze the plate, and then some people like to have a longer break between the plates, or some people like we have guests who had a whole menu in like 1.5 hour, and we have guests who've been there 6 hours.
They become family members.
Yeah.
They become part of a furniture, basically 6 hours.
No, but some people really like to interact with the waiters, want to talk to them, want to talk to me, want to talk to Sonja, my head chef.
Do you have many people who want to talk to you?
It goes up and down, It's like, depends.
Chef, as a last topic, and there is so much more I want to ask, man, but because I don't know, I'm getting really interested in this.
No one want to see episode 3 or also me talking.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But listen,
then.
Chef, the step from the first to the second star.
Yep.
And you've already been talking about it a little bit because you said we made very small steps. But in terms of Michelin guide guidelines,
Yep.
like the things you need to have in order for an inspector to come in and say, okay, I can give him 1 star, I can give him 2 stars, I can give him 3 stars.
Yep.
I want to know how broad is the distance between 1, 2, and 3 stars? So between 1 and 2, 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And I want to know, did you study after a while? You said in the beginning you didn't really study. You were just cooking, just doing things the best way you could, and then hoped for the best, sort of. But are you more familiar with Michelin guidelines now?
I mean, they don't really put out. There's no checklist.
No.
But you can just tick off like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing this.
I believe they do saying something like, 1 star it's worth a visit, 2 stars it's worth a D-turn, or something like that.
Yeah, but that's very abstract.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. I mean, there's some places with 0 stars who's worth a journey, so
right.
It's very abstract. But what I think and what I kind of have learned is 1 star. It goes quality of ingredients always, and knowledge of cooking, how you cook them, and if and it doesn't matter if it's like a carrot or a cauliflower or a langoustine or a scallop. It's the quality of that ingredient. It's not quality just by it's a luxury ingredient. It's judged by the quality of what you put on the plate, and also of how it's prepared, of course. And that goes for all 1, 2, and 3 stars. And then to go from 1 and above, it goes more to personality in the cooking, or individuality, style of cooking, or creativity.
So
or
you have your own identity, basically.
you kind of have to develop that's also for contrast, you when you come to our restaurant, you should be able to sense where and at what time in the world you are. It's my idea.
Okay.
So if you come in, because we all change with time, and
Yes.
and the world around us is changing. So if you come to contrast in January 2020, and then you come in May 2022, and then you come in June
2023,
25, or
25.
whatever, you should have a sense of you are in Oslo at this present time,
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's kind of our style of cooking is still contrast, but it's different from what we cooked 4 or 5 years ago. Because I want to do new things. I want to evolve and so on. And you should also see that it's a dish or a plate at contrast.
I had a couple of questions prepared, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
So first of all, what is the best cuisine in the world in terms of
Swedish. We have pineapple pizza.
No, these we're going to exclude. Chef, you have very nice blueberries in Sweden.
Yep. Thank you.
That What is the best cuisine? Don't say Sweden. Just let me finish. And don't say Sweden even when I'm finished.
No,
Just
okay.
don't say
I'm
Sweden.
going to listen.
No,
Yeah.
jokes aside.
Yeah.
What is the best cuisine in the world in terms of raw material, execution, and romanticism?
I know what you're fishing for.
Yes, I know. I know you know.
Yeah. I'm not going to give it to you.
No, don't give it to me. Okay. No, but give me honest answer. Honest answer. Come on, chef. There is only one. Raw material. Come on. What other country could it be?
France?
Romanticism and
Paris?
execution.
Yeah.
You just want to piss me off, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. You're succeeding.
Thank you.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, sticking with that. Yeah.
Okay. Chef,
Yep.
this was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it was very good. Very nice. No, it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Let's do it
really
one
fun.
more time. Same time next week.
Yeah, sure.